Hello and welcome to Digital Agility Institute, and this is Agile Foundations program. In this particular video, we will be talking about everything related to Kanban. So, this is part of the Agile Fundamentals series of videos that we are currently doing and publishing freely on YouTube. And in this video, we're going to talk about everything about Kanban. Now, let's start with what is Kanban, right? So, Kanban is one of the agile frameworks that is pretty old, if I may say so, because it's one of the earliest frameworks that we have been seeing on agile, right? So that is Kanban. Now, what is Kanban? Kanban is a method for defining, managing, and optimizing flow of work, which essentially means it's a means through which you are able to visualize the flow, and you are able to visualize the process that is involved, the various steps that are involved within that particular flow. So that is more about a Kanban for a start, right? So, and what does it do? It helps the teams to visualize the work, and when you visualize, you start understanding the gaps, or what we also call the potential delays in the system, which may be a result of many things that we will get deeper into. And once you visualize the gaps, you will be able to maximize the efficiency by moving those handoffs, or reducing the waste within the system. So that is what Kanban essentially helps us with, right? And when you are looking to maximize the efficiency, is when you are looking to continually improve that particular process within the system. That is what Kanban is all about. Now, the next point we want to talk about is, what are the Kanban principles? On what principles does Kanban work? Right? One, it start with what you know. Means you don't need to reinvent or start something entirely different, right? So different ways of working. It says start with what you are doing today, right? That means start where you are in that particular journey. You don't need to explicitly go and create something new, as like Scrum or anything, because or any other framework, right? So that means you are starting off entirely into a new practice. But Kanban is about visualizing the current process, current way work that you are undertaking. So start where you are today, and you can start from there, right? And agree to pursue incremental. That means you are not looking at being your the perfect best on day one, right? You are thinking about how can I incrementally improve. If you are visualizing the a process, there could be lot of inefficiencies in the process, right? So we'll talk about the seven types of waste in some time. So when you are looking at that, you may not, and it is practically not possible to improve everything in one time. You will look to try and improve what is most important for you, or what gives most value to the customer at that point of time. So your change is incremental, your change is evolutionary, in perspective, and that is driven by the current priority you would have at that point of time, as a team, or as a uh, value stream, or as a delivery unit. Because Kanban can be practiced at multiple levels. Kanban is also practiced at a portfolio level, even at a executive level in organizations. You can look to practice Kanban, right? So that is where, so wherever you are looking to pursue incremental and evolutionary change. And what it also does is it encourages people to showcase their leadership skills, exhibit leadership at all levels. When you are doing Kanban means it's essentially giving you the ability to move the work across different steps of the process, and in the bargain you may have to take decisions that are required for ensuring that the work gets done. So it also encourages people to across all levels to exhibit leadership, right? That is another principle of Kanban on which it functions. Now the second set of principles are more focused on service delivery, because the first set of principles we talked about are more focused on how to manage the change, right? So the second set of uh, principles are focused on service delivery. Now, what are these principles? Again, three principles to look at here. Focus on customer needs and expectations. And this is the basic fundamental principle of Agile as well, right? The priority is the customer and the value that they are getting. And only when you are customer centric you can be more organization centric as well, because organization usually provides services or delivers products for the customers, and that customer could be anybody. Many times probably we think when we say customer it is only the external customer, not necessarily the case, right? If you are from an HR team, for example, or a vendor management team, right? Your customer is your internal team or another team that you are serving. So your customer need not always be the end customer. Customer definition is whom are you serving? Who are you providing the service for, right? That is your customer. And understand their expectations and needs. What are their expectations? What are they looking for? What is the most what is something that is most valuable to them at this point of time, right? That is something that you need to always focus on, right? Focus on customer needs at this point of time, and then based on those priorities manage your work. Based on the customer priorities and what is most valuable to them, try to bring that piece of work into that flow, right? And regularly review the network of services. So whatever services you are providing, try to review them from time to time. Are they still valuable enough? Are they still good enough for the work that we want to accomplish as a team? Those are the three principles with reference to service delivery. Now, the next topic is about Kanban practices. Here we are looking to talk about six practices that Kanban advocates, right? So the first one is the visualize workflow. And I talked about this, right, in the beginning itself. When you talk about visualizing the workflow means you are looking at the process from an end-to-end perspective. How does the work flow from request origination to request fulfillment? That is the entire workflow. Where does the work come in for a team to address, and how does the work is completed when we define that this work is now done, right? From request origination to request fulfillment, what all steps does the work undergo? That is your workflow. So one, the first step is to visualize the workflow first. Now second step is about limiting work in progress. Now what does limiting work in progress mean is that when you are talking about the work flowing within different elements or different steps of the process that it involves, you may have different capacities of people working on different stages of work. For example, if you think about developers and testers and business analysts in a cross functional team, usually the number of developers are more as compared to the testers or business analysts. Now, if you have a requirement that comes in, and it will have to flow through requirement analysis once the requirement is originated and you know coming into the backlog, and then after requirement analysis it is developed and it is tested, and then after testing and QA validation it goes into deployment. I'm talking about a simple workflow. Now, if you think from this workflow perspective, the amount of work a business analyst, if there is only one business analyst, can handle at a time is one piece of work, correct? And then a tester can handle is also a one piece of work. Now, if you have more developers, working on development, you have to make sure that the workflow is seamless. Otherwise, what will happen? The business analyst is defining or validating the requirements, and they pass on, or or she passes on one requirement to development. Now there is one person, or probably if you are pair programming, you may be two people working on that, and if you have three developers, then what is the third developer doing, right? So he or she will have to collaborate with the business analyst to be able to speed up the requirement validation. How can you help them to move the work across, right? Now, when you talk about work in progress limits, you will define the work in progress so that there is no waiting time. The waiting time for a work to move from the request origination to request fulfillment to be the least minimum. And for that to happen, you need to have a minimum waiting time at different steps within that particular process, right? That is when your process time becomes the least minimum. Okay, so that is about limiting work in progress. Now, the third of the practices is about managing the flow. Now, once you have created or defined the work in progress limits, you start looking at managing the flow to be most optimized. Now, which essentially means that the process needs to be well optimized. So there are 7 types of ways that I keep referring to. We will look at that. You need to look at minimizing the waste. That is when the flow is at the maximum, right? So that is what we are talking about when you talk about managing the flow. Managing the flow comes from limiting work in progress as well as minimizing the waste. That is when your flow is fully optimized, right, from a process standpoint. Now the next step is about making process explicit. Now, can you make sure that the process steps are explicitly captured and visualized, not leaving them for ambiguity or assumption, right? If there is a step that is being performed within a particular process, we need to make sure that that particular step is clearly visible within the process or within the workflow that we are referring to. So make process explicitly visible, covering all steps, covering the cycle times, the wait time, and the overall process time for that particular workflow, right? Make the process explicitly visible. Now, the next one is about feedback loops. Now, when you talk about feedback, feedback can come from many different dimensions, right? Feedback can come from customers, feedback can come from peers that you are working with, feedback can come from leadership. So, your feedback loops need to be as frequent and as fast as possible. That, what does that do? The more faster the feedback loops are, the more faster the uh, feedback you are getting from different dimensions, the earlier we will fail. That means you are failing fast. You are learning from the feedback and actually delivering greater value, or intending to deliver greater value by getting feedback from different dimensions of the stakeholders that you are involved in and you are servicing, so that you are delivering best value for everyone that is involved in that workflow. So feedback loops need to be as frequent and as fast as possible, right? That is the fifth practice that we Kanban advocates. Now, improve collaboratively. Collaboration is again one of the uh, biggest significant factors within a team, or a value stream, or a portfolio, or an enterprise being agile, right? So collaboratively we should look to improve. That means that we need to encourage constructive conflict within the system, right? Conflict needs to be constructive. People are conflicting. It's not like you are avoiding conflict. If you are avoiding conflict, it essentially means that there is some insecurity within the particular team, right? Whichever team, whichever level, or whichever hierarchy you are referring to. So you talk about improving collaboratively as a group, as a team, collectively, right? You look at the inputs, insights coming from everybody in the team. When I say the team, even the customer is part of your team, and also the stakeholders that you work with, and your enablers. If you are a development team, there could be your enablers like HR, or the sales, the marketing, the risk, the compliance. There could be many teams, or the in some cases the infrastructure teams as well. They are your enablers, so you have to work towards making the process optimum, delivering value consistently to the customer, and the product or services with highest quality, by collaborating with each and every stakeholder that is required to be involved, right? So that is about the six practices of Kanban. So in this particular session, we will cover till here, and we will look to move on to the next topics in the next session, in that, or in the next video. So in that video we will be talking about benefits that you can derive from Kanban, and how to actually Kanban, right? And we will also talk about the Kanban University a bit, and what probably certifications you have within Kanban system, right? So we will cover all that in the second part of this series about Kanban. So this was a small attempt to cover the Kanban in a foundational way. This is not just everything about Kanban. There are a lot of things within Kanban as well. The Kanban maturity model also has lot of elements to look into. So in this particular video, we just talked about what Kanban is, what are the principles of Kanban, and we also talked about what are the practices that Kanban advocates, right? So I hope you enjoyed watching this video. If you like what is being discussed, please go ahead and hit the subscribe button on the YouTube channel, and also like the video, so that you keep getting information about all the new videos that we publish. There are other topics that we look to still cover on this foundations course or fundamentals course on Agile. So please look up to those videos coming through from time to time. We are also looking to publish another free course or training for the Agile coaches. It is Agile Coaching Foundations, that will soon start to publish on YouTube. So don't miss out on the free learning that is coming your way. Please hit the subscribe button now. Thank you for watching, and if you have any feedback, please put it down in your comments. Look forward to seeing you soon. Thank you.